Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. The burning of the last hut at the Belsen camp in 1949 during a symbolic closing ceremony. The event included a solemn tribute carried out by military personnel, officially marking the end of the use of the remaining structures on the site. In 1920, in England, the term shear madness became associated with unusual sheep shearing demonstrations that combined rural work with public entertainment. This type of event reflected both the importance of sheep raising to the British economy and the festive character given to agricultural practices. In 1940, London experienced defining moments of the Second World War, among them the use of the so-called V-1 flying bombs, nicknamed doodlebugs. These aerial devices were developed by Germany and represented a new form of automated weaponry, capable of traveling long distances without a crew. During the Battle of Okinawa, Allied forces captured several Shinyo-class boats, small Japanese craft designed for rapid attacks on enemy ships. These motor-driven boats were fitted with explosive charges on the bow and were meant to ram directly into opposing vessels, serving as a desperate strategy in the war's final stages. A parachute mine that fell into a garden in England in 1940 and did not detonate. This type of device was dropped from aircraft attached to parachutes, which allowed it to descend more slowly to the ground. In 1906, the city of Hartford, Connecticut, was the site of one of the most striking railway accidents of the period, when a locomotive breached safety limits and went through the structure known as the Roundhouse. Pearl Harbor in Hawaii in 1941. This episode marked an important turning point in world history, as it led the United States to enter the Second World War directly. The port of Pearl Harbor was a strategic naval base in the Pacific Ocean, bringing together large ships and aircraft. An incident involving a Chicago North Line train that occurred in 1953 at the intersection of Harrison Street and Wabash Avenue. The event drew attention for happening in a busy downtown area where a large number of people passed daily. In 1936, the phenomenon known as the Dust Bowl devastated the Great Plains of the United States, covering crops, homes, and farm machinery with enormous dust storms. This environmental disaster resulted from the combination of intensive agricultural practices, which weakened the soil with a severe drought that hit the region. The last known record of an Atlas lion in its natural habitat, captured by photographer Marcelin in 1925. This species inhabited the mountainous region of North Africa and was recognized for its imposing presence and characteristic mane. Prisoners aboard the steamship named Petersburg during the journey to Sakhalin Island in Siberia. This island was used in the late 19th and early 20th centuries as a destination for people sent for long periods of forced labor. A child in London during the 1940s, a period marked by intense social and economic changes. The city lived under challenging conditions that directly influenced families' daily lives. Children grew up amid restrictions, adaptations, and uncertainties, having to deal with a reality very different from the usual routine of childhood. In 1932, at the height of the Great Depression, Central Park in New York housed one of the so-called Hoovervilles, makeshift villages that arose in various cities of the United States. Built with pieces of wood, metal, and other found materials, Soviet women snipers recorded in 1945 at the end of the Second World War. These women became known for their skill and discipline in combat, together reaching a total of 775 confirmed hits. In the early 20th century, China still maintained methods of justice that reflected centuries-old traditions and the authority of the imperial state. In 1900, the concept of crime and punishment was deeply tied to the legal code in force, which sought not only to repress acts considered unlawful, but also to serve as a public example of order and discipline. In 1805, during the Battle of Trafalgar, Spanish ships raised flags that are now seen as witnesses to one of the most striking naval clashes in history. The battle, fought off the Spanish coast, brought together the British, French, and Spanish fleets in a clash that would define maritime dominance of the era. In 1917, by photographer Frank Hurley, it shows soldiers walking in single file in a region known as the Western Front. The record documents the organized movement of troops during a period marked by large military operations on the European continent. The largest caliber gun ever used during the First World War, known as the Royal Navy BL 18-inch, marked the Forn. The weapon measured about 70 feet in length, weighed approximately 4 tons, short tons, and was built in 1918. In 1910, New York still faced serious challenges related to sanitation and pest control, and the so-called rat catchers played a fundamental role in this setting. A curious practice of the time was the use of trained ferrets, small and agile mammals that were inserted into holes and narrow passages to drive out or capture rodents. Workers operating on the walkways of Tower Bridge in London in the year 1913. This bridge was already one of the city's main architectural landmarks and underwent constant maintenance to ensure its safety and operation. In the early 20th century, Alice Doherty, known as the Wool Girl, was photographed in a family portrait that still arouses historical curiosity. Born in 1887 in Minneapolis, she had hypertrichosis, a rare condition that causes excessive hair growth across the body. In 1900, collections of glass eyes, such as those of street vendors, were common, reflecting both medical advances and commercial practices of the time. These items were used to replace lost eyes, offering the patient an aesthetic solution at a time when ophthalmic medicine was only taking its first modern steps. In 1908, a curious photograph drew attention in New York by showing a tavern patron of exceptionally tall stature in contrast with the people around him. The scene, besides arousing surprise and interest, also reflects daily life in establishments that functioned as social and community gathering points in the early 20th century. Robert Wadlow, who would later be known as the tallest man in history, drew attention from a very young age. At 10 years old, his height was striking when compared with that of an average child of the same age, creating a vivid contrast in photographs of the time. A group of men at the Utah Penitentiary in the late 19th century identified as prisoners convicted of practicing polygamy. The record was made in front of one of the institution's entrances, with the inmates dressed in standardized uniforms of dark and light stripes. Before becoming world famous as the creator of secret agent James Bond, Ian Fleming served during the Second World War as a British naval intelligence officer at the Admiralty. His experiences in this period provided the basis for many inspirations for the settings, characters, and plots that would later appear in his spy novels. In 1928, the United States Navy presented the USS Langley, considered the first American aircraft carrier. Originally built as the coal-carrying ship USS Jupiter, it was converted to its new role, marking a significant change in naval history. Dated between 221 and 206 before Christ, China's Terracotta Army is one of the greatest archaeological treasures in the world, and even the small details of its sculptures are impressive. At the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, one of the oldest garments in the world is preserved, a tunic approximately 4,500 years old, dated to ancient Egypt. This rare piece, made of linen, reveals the skill of Egyptian weavers in producing fine and durable fabrics that have remained preserved to this day. In 1902, in the state of Oregon, the Willamette meteorite was the largest ever found in the United States and one of the largest in the world, weighing an impressive 34,200 pounds, which is over 17 short tons. Composed mainly of iron and nickel, it is believed to have formed billions of years ago, traveling through space before colliding with Earth. A massive industrial 30,000-ton press, known as a die press, built during the 1940s. This machine was used in Germany to manufacture metal components intended for the aircraft production of the time. It shows the Pantheon in Rome during a flood recorded in 1870. This historic building, originally constructed in the 2nd century, is one of the best preserved landmarks of Roman architecture. The structure has faced several floods over the centuries, the result of its proximity to the Tiber River and heavy rains. In September 1976, the band Queen performed one of the most memorable shows of its career with a free concert in Hyde Park in London. The event brought together hundreds of thousands of people and became a milestone not only for fans, but also for the history of live music in England. Freddie Mercury, Brian May, Roger Taylor, and John Deacon took the stage during their worldwide rise. Jerry Garcia in front of the famous sound system known as the Wall of Sound, used in 1974. This structure impressed with a height equivalent to 3 stories, a width of 100 feet, and an approximate weight of about 75 tons, short tons. Marcel Marceau, regarded as the most celebrated mime artist of the 20th century, left a deep mark on both art and history. Born in France, he stood out worldwide for his ability to convey emotions, narratives, and complex reflections solely through body language and silence, creating unforgettable characters such as the iconic Bip. Frank Woodruff Buckles passed away in 2011 at 110 years of age, remembered as the last American veteran of the First World War. Born in 1901, he joined the United States Army as a teenager, serving as an ambulance driver during the conflict. Richard Norris Williams, a young American tennis player, survived the sinking of the Titanic in 1912, and his story impresses to this day. After the impact with the iceberg, he managed to escape amid the chaos and was exposed to the freezing waters of the North Atlantic before being rescued. The Ottoman Empire established itself as one of the most feared military powers in the world, and the use of large guns such as the 9-bore cannon played an essential role in this process. These large-scale weapons with impressive firepower for the time were used mainly in sieges against fortresses and fortified cities, reflecting the sophistication of Ottoman artillery. Alan B. Hazard, an engineer at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, presenting a prototype spacesuit during the 1960s. This project was part of a series of experiments created to develop suits capable of keeping astronauts safe in environments without breathable air and with extreme temperatures. In 1933, California received one of the most impressive astronomical instruments of its time, the Zeiss Mobile 9.5-inch refractor. Manufactured by the renowned German company Carl Zeiss, the mobile refracting telescope with a diameter of about 9.5 inches was designed to be transported and used in different locations. The transport of the anchor intended for the ship Titanic, recorded in 1911 when the piece left the Midlands region in England. This giant anchor was produced in a specialized foundry and required the use of robust vehicles and equipment to be moved. Roman remains preserved below street level near the Porta Leone Gate in the city of Verona, Italy. These structures date from the period of the Roman Republic, when the city was part of important commercial and military routes. Roman steps from the 1st century that led to the Sphinx in Egypt, visible on the right side of the image. These steps were built during a period when the region received visitors from the Roman Empire, as Egypt was a popular destination for travelers of that era. The beginning of the construction of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France, in the year 1887, when the foundations that would support the structure were being laid. The project, conceived by Gustave Eiffel and his team of engineers, marked the start of one of the 19th century's most emblematic works. The Aztec Sunstone, recorded in 1886, one of the most important monuments of the ancient Mexica civilization. The artifact, also known as the Aztec calendar, is made of solid stone and bears inscriptions that represent cycles of time, cosmic elements, and gods associated with the culture. In 1952, in the bed of the Paluxy River in Texas, dinosaur footprints approximately 113 million years old, belonging to the Cretaceous period, were documented. These prehistoric tracks, preserved in sedimentary rocks, became one of the most impressive fossil records found in the United States. Between 1910 and 1914, archaeologists conducted one of the most important excavations in Asia Minor, the rediscovery of the ancient city of Sardis, capital of the Kingdom of Lydia. Located in present-day Turkey, Sardis was a political and cultural center of great relevance, known as the land of the legendary King Croesus and associated with the invention of metallic coinage. In 1920, ironworkers, specialists in assembling metal structures, became emblematic figures of New York's vertical growth. Responsible for raising skyscrapers that would transform the city's urban landscape, a rapid transit streetcar in Brooklyn, New York, in the year 1900. This means of transportation was essential for the region's urban expansion, connecting growing neighborhoods with the city center. In 1912, busy St. Pancras Station in London was the scene of intense urban and rail transport activity, where horse-drawn drays, or horse-drawn freight carts, played an essential role. In 1890, France had firefighting vehicles that represented the initial stage of modernizing emergency services. Known as fire engines, these units were often horse-drawn and carried manual pumps, ladders, and hoses to deal with urban emergencies. In 1970, the imposing oil tanker Esso Hibernia was completed at the Swan Hunter Shipyard in Wallsend, England, one of the most traditional areas of British shipbuilding. In 1932, a vehicle known as the American Bantam Cable Car was adapted for a crossing service over the Pudding River, spanning approximately 120 feet. This small automobile was turned into a kind of improvised cable car, using cables to move from one bank to the other. In 1911, Thomas Bundy was already recognized as one of the standout names of American tennis at the beginning of the 20th century. Known for his solid technique and consistent style of play, Bundy built a career that led him to compete for and win important titles, especially in doubles tournaments. In 1911, athlete J.J. Eller stood out by winning the 120-yard hurdles, one of the era's most prestigious track events. This event was part of a sports calendar that helped consolidate modern track and field as an international competitive practice. In 1985, The Bride was a Gothic fantasy film inspired by the classic Frankenstein universe, directed by Frank Rodham and starring Sting and Jennifer Beals. The plot presents a retelling of the myth in which Dr. Frankenstein creates a woman from dark experiments, giving rise to the character Eva. played by Beals. Two Daleks, iconic characters from the British series Doctor Who, appearing together in 1963. Created for television that year, the Daleks quickly became symbols of popular culture, known for their unusual design and mechanical way of moving. The city of Deadwood in 1888, located in South Dakota, United States. Founded during the gold rush in the 1870s, the city quickly grew with the arrival of miners, merchants, and adventurers in search of fortune. A young person wearing the so-called Oxford bag trousers recorded in England in 1920. These wide pants became a popular fashion among students at the University of Oxford, who sought a style different from the more traditional clothing of the time. An auto pushball exhibition held in 1929, a curious sport that used automobiles instead of players to move a giant ball. Each vehicle was driven by skilled drivers who tried to push the ball toward the opponent's goal, turning the game into a mix of entertainment and a technology demonstration. Called a medicine man, traveling from farm to farm in the early 1900s. These itinerant sellers offered remedies, tonics, and homemade preparations that promised to relieve different kinds of health problems. They went through rural areas with wagons or small vehicles, becoming familiar figures in farming communities. 30 silver bars produced by the Boston Colorado Gold and Silver Smelting Company. This company operated in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, responsible for processing precious metals extracted from different regions. A house being moved through the streets of San Francisco in the early 1910s. This practice was common in several American cities, allowing entire buildings to be relocated to new lots without being demolished. A sightseeing bus called Seeing New York, circulating through the streets of New York City in 1904. This type of transport offered visitors the opportunity to see the main tourist spots as a group in an organized and comfortable way. A family pedaling together on a group bicycle through the streets of Paris, France, in the year 1938. This type of vehicle was built to allow several people to share the same frame, turning the ride into a group experience. A street light known as the coffee vending lamp, which had a base adapted to provide hot water, tea, and coffee. This innovation arose in the late 19th century as a way to unite practicality and modernity in busy urban areas. In 1949, in the Netherlands, the DF Doornberg diesel appeared, a vehicle that stood out for an unusual design detail. Special attention to the comfort of the mechanic himself. Unlike many automotive projects of the time, this model was planned to make repairs and maintenance easier, reducing the effort and time required to handle the engine and other essential parts. During the First World War, between 1914 and 1918, the homing pigeon played an essential role in military communication, especially in situations where radio technology was limited or failed. In 1862, London became the stage for one of the greatest milestones in the history of urban transport, with the first underground subway trip. The system, which would begin official operation the following year, was designed to ease the city's increasingly heavy traffic during the Industrial Revolution. In the 20th century, roller coasters were seen as symbols of modernity and popular entertainment, especially during the Edwardian era. In 1900, these structures drew attention both for technical innovation and for the boldness of the experience they offered. In the United States, in Greenville, Connecticut, a curious sign was installed with the phrase, "Pick the speed you can afford." The notice drew drivers' attention to the risks and costs of exceeding the speed limit, stating that there was a charge in dollars for each mile per hour above what was allowed. James Stewart, known worldwide as one of the great actors of Hollywood's classic era, also had a remarkable career beyond the screen. During the Second World War, he joined the armed forces and stood out as a B-24 bomber pilot, reaching the rank of brigadier general in the United States Air Force. Before its opening in 1894, Tower Bridge in London underwent rigorous load tests to ensure its safety and strength. The procedure involved driving various heavy vehicles, including rows of buses and loaded carriages, over the newly built structure. Robert E. Howard, often confused with other figures of his time, was not an outlaw, but one of the most influential writers of pulp literature in the 20th century. In 1932, he created the character Conan the Barbarian, which quickly became an icon of heroic fantasy, marking generations of readers and inspiring comics, films, and series. William Hutchings, born in 1764, was one of the veterans of the American Revolution who lived long enough to witness the beginning of photography. In 1864, already 100 years old, he was portrayed in one of the rare photographs that preserve direct memory of those who took part in that historic conflict. In 1960, Muhammad Ali, still at the beginning of his sports career, was photographed enjoying a curious and luxurious accessory for the time, a record player installed in his automobile. In 1899, Louisiana received a large contingent of Italian workers who played an important role in the region's economic and social transformation. Many of these immigrants arrived in search of better opportunities and were employed on plantations, in construction, on railroads, and in other labor-intensive services. In the Yorkshire region stands St. Helen's Church, built in 1145, which holds one of medieval England's most fascinating architectural elements, a Viking door dated to the 10th century. This surviving feature is even older than the church itself, serving as a direct link between the Viking era and the Norman period. In 1918, during the First World War, a soldier of the United States 369th Infantry Regiment, known as the Harlem Hellfighters, was photographed holding a small puppy rescued amid the conflict. In 1915, in the city of Iron Mountain, Michigan, a curious scene was recorded involving the Ford Model T, the automobile that revolutionized industry and mobility in the United States. Instead of running on its own, the car appears being moved with the help of a simple wheelbarrow in an unusual display of improvisation and human effort. In 1790, chess pieces carved in ivory and ebony represented a notable example of the combination of art and functionality in board games. Inspired by insect forms, each piece was carefully crafted by specialized artisans, reflecting both technical skill and the refined aesthetics of the time. Veterans who took part in different periods of conflict between 1861 and 1945. They represent the United States Civil War, the Spanish-American War, the First World War, and the Second World War. Gathered in one record, these men symbolize the continuity of generations who served over nearly a century. Appomattox in the United States in 1865, where the terms of surrender that marked the end of the Civil War were discussed. This location became a symbol of the closing of one of the most defining periods in American history. Aircrew, the mascot of the Cressy Royal Air Force Flying School, recorded in 1943. Pets were often adopted by military units to bring companionship and lightness to day-to-day training. Dr. Rubush in Washington, District of Columbia, in the year 1925, with a mobile veterinary practice. This type of service was innovative for the time, as it brought health care directly to animals on farms, in markets, and in urban areas. curious ice cream stand called Hoot Hoot Ice Cream in Los Angeles in the year 1926. The point of sale was designed in a creative shape, drawing the attention of residents and visitors for its originality. Salvador Dalí as a child in Paris in the year 1907. Born in Spain in 1904, Dalí would become one of the most famous artists of the 20th century, recognized for his unique style and the creativity that marked the Surrealist movement. In this record, he appears in his earliest years, long before international acclaim. Workers installing support timbers at the Homestake Gold Mine located in South Dakota in the year 1908. This process, known as shoring, was essential to prevent cave-ins and ensure safety inside the extraction tunnels. A craftsman known as the basket weaver, working in Paris, France in the year 1908. He uses traditional techniques to weave plant fibers, creating baskets that were widely used at fairs, markets, and for transporting products. A pet grooming and care service in New York in the year 1925. The scene records an attendant performing hygiene care on a dog, a practice that even at that time was part of modern urban life. In 1924, during a game at Griffith Stadium, Babe Ruth, already established as one of baseball's greatest stars, was involved in a striking episode. While running at high speed, he crashed hard into the outfield wall and ended up fainting on impact, leaving fans and teammates shocked. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.